We all know that the axe in Animal Crossing will usually break after using it too much. Of course, the axe is intentionally designed to break like this, in order to make the unbreakable golden axe an appealing item to unlock. And yet, what if I told you that by simply reading a sign over and over, you can actually prevent your standard axe from ever breaking? And no, I'm not joking. You can actually sit here and read this sign over and over to heal the durability on your axe, making it theoretically invincible. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how or why this even works, so let's take a closer look. Creating an unbreakable axe is a really funny glitch that was recently discovered by Animal Crossing spreadsheet owner Phil. To understand how interacting with a sign heals your axe, let's discuss how axe durability works. Normally, an axe can withstand 72 hits on normal trees before breaking. Since trees take 3 hits to cut down, you can effectively cut down 24 trees with a standard axe before it breaks. However, to encourage players to only use the axe on trees, the axe will lose durability at 3 times the rate if it collides with anything other than a tree. To handle this programmatically, the game essentially uses 2 counters to keep track of the axe's total durability. The hit counter goes up by 1 every time an axe is used against a tree, but this counter will instead go up by 3 every time it's used against any other object. Every time this hit counter is greater than or equal to 9, a durability point will be added to your axe. Increasing this durability also changes the axe ID in your hand, and there are 8 different axes in the game for each state of durability your axe has. So, essentially, the game keeps track of your axe's damage by just having 8 different axe items that are swapped in and out as you continue to use it. When you're on the final axe ID and the durability counter gets increased, every value gets cleared, and the axe breaks. This approach is normally fine and mostly works as intended, but of course I'm talking about it, so there are some issues with this. First, while your axe's durability is saved by the game upon exiting and is tied to each axe, the actual hit counter is cleared upon every reload. Remember, you only get a durability point if you increase the hit counter to 9 or higher. So this means you can hit a tree 8 times, save and quit, and reload back in to reset your axe's hit counter back to 0. This effectively already creates an unbreakable axe if you keep track of your hits and cheese the durability by saving and quitting. But of course, it takes a lot of time to save and reset in Animal Crossing, so if you actually save and reset every 8 hits on your axe, then I think you're pretty crazy. Luckily, there's a more time-efficient method to reset your axe's hit counter, although it's arguably even crazier. I mentioned that your axe will lose durability at 3 times the rate if you hit something other than a tree. When you swing your axe, the game handles this programmatically by detecting what's directly in front of you in order to see if the axe will collide with a tree or a different object. To sum this up, the entire flow looks something like this. If the axe is in the player's hands and the player presses A, the game will run code to detect what's directly in front of the player. If there's a tree in front of the player, the game will immediately increase the axe's hit counter by 1. But if there's any other object in front of the player, the game will instead increase the axe's hit counter by 3. If you're in front of an object other than a tree, the game will attempt to put the player in the reflected axe state, where the animation of your axe recoiling normally plays. The moment the axe animation collides with an object, the durability check occurs to see if the hit counter is greater than or equal to 9. If it is, the durability of your axe increases, and a new damaged axe ID is replaced in your hand. Anytime your axe's durability is increased, the game will reset the hit counter back to 0 for the next cycle. The issue is that the hit counter is increased immediately when pressing A, but the durability check only occurs if the animation of the axe being swung is allowed to play. This means if we can interrupt this process after the hit counter is increased, but before the animation plays, we can effectively increase the hit counter without allowing the game to do the durability check. It turns out this is incredibly easy to do because the game assigns both axe swinging and interacting with objects to the A button. So, for example, if we sit in front of the bulletin board with our axe out and press A, the game will detect the bulletin board in front of the player and say, "Hey, There's an object here that's not a tree, so I'm going to increase the hit counter by 3. The game then attempts to put you in the recoiled axe state and play the animation, but this process gets interrupted by the higher priority of reading the actual bulletin board. So instead of playing the axe animation, the bulletin board submenu comes up and effectively cancels the rest of the axe process. However, the hit counter was still incremented by 3 from initially pressing A with our axe out in front of the bulletin board. This means by just reading the bulletin board with our axe out, we can increase the hit counter by 3 every single time we read it. Additionally, since we're interrupting the axe process, the check to clear the hit counter never plays out, so we can actually increment this value way past 9, which is normally not possible. In memory, your hit counter is stored as a single byte, meaning we can increment it all the way to FF or 255 and actually overflow it back to 0 if we want. So, for example, if we use our axe normally on trees 71 times, then using it one more time will typically cause the axe to break. However, if we go to the bulletin board with our axe out and read it 83 times, we can actually overflow the hit counter back to 0 and effectively get 9 more hits out of our axe before it breaks. But we can still do even better. The expected value of the hit counter is a signed byte, which has a range of -128 to +127. This means that if the value of the hit counter is 128 or higher, the game will interpret the value as a negative number less than 9 and not update the durability. So let's use the same example and say we have an axe that is 1 hit away from breaking. If we then interact with the bulletin board 40 times, our hit counter is now 128, or hexadecimal 80. So now when we use our axe normally, the hit counter will continue to go up, but the durability check will not update until the hit counter overflows back to 0. Thus, we can now use the axe an extra 136 times before the counter overflows back to 0 and falls back in the range of expected values above 9. Since a brand new axe can normally only withstand 72 hits, we've effectively nearly doubled the durability of a standard axe just by using this exploit once. Of course, we can just keep reading the sign every time the axe is about to break to create an infinite durability axe if we so desire. While this is a cool exploit, you have to be pretty aware of your axe's internal counters to make use of it. In normal gameplay, this exploit is actually more likely to be detrimental. All this time, I've talked about reading the sign to increase the durability of your axe, but this also works the other way around. Since reading the bulletin board with your axe out will always increase the hit counter by 3, you must read the bulletin board at least 40 times if you don't want to lose durability. In a scenario where you buy a brand new axe, read the bulletin board 3 times, and hit a tree once, your durability counter will increase even though you only use the axe a single time. If you intentionally abuse this, you can actually break your brand new axe in just 9 hits, which reduces its total usage by a disgusting 87.5%. So if you ever read the bulletin board with your axe out, make sure to warm those thumbs up and hit that button at least 40 more times if you don't want to lose your axe durability. This glitch can also happen by just opening any door with your axe out, or by interacting with the town tune board outside of the post office. The same rules I just explained also apply here, so if you don't value your time, you can also increase your axe's durability by opening a door 40 times over and over with your axe out. But using the bulletin board is way faster. Still, this is definitely fun to play with, and I hope you enjoyed this short little insight into this newer glitch. Special thank you to Phil from the Spreadsheet team for sharing this discovery and testing alongside me a while back. Further shout out to Cuyler for decompiling the axe states and giving us a definitive look at the root cause. And as always, thank you to my community members and patrons for supporting this channel, with special appreciation to Lunascape, Cynthia, Cass, Dylan Trudeau, Silly Marina, Villager, Hornet, Tarumi, Vinny Diddy, Pitch01, Kai D, ComfyBoy404, Japan Eat, Zip, Bobby Nard, Comfy, Holly Molly, Exploding Bears, Tenchi Prime, Idrin, Goose Fart, Clifford Longhead, Moggery, Puff, The Casual Perry, and Cray. And of course, thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.